if you get blessed to have a strong-willed child, like people don't think strong-willed children are a blessing but they really are, because they really absolutely challenge the core of your whole being as a parent, because they tell you all the things you do not like. Even they'll tell you about yourself, and they won't listen to anything you say, right? And so I've been blessed to have strong-willed sons who would say things to me like, "Oh, Dad, man, this is." We turn up in church, but when we come home, you ain't said nothing about God.
Welcome to a late night edition.
A late night,
A
brother.
late night edition of a Father's Podcast, man. Right from a Father's Heart podcast.
Listen, man. Listen.
It's all good.
Let me tell you something.
Man, what's popping with you, man?
The responsibilities of being a father of adult sons. I think people think parenting stops when they turn 18. I don't think they know the depth and breadth or scope of the realities of parenting 18 to what? My death? I don't even know, when does it stop?
Listen, bro, it doesn't stop. I don't know who told you.
I'm like, it don't stop, right?
It doesn't stop, man. I don't know who told you that it does. Far as I know, that it doesn't. So
Sean,
that it doesn't.
I was told when you turn 18, you can get up out my house. So, understanding that that's a philosophy and a principle that many families use, is particularly parents. When children turn 18, I thought that's when parenting stopped. Now, I didn't use that philosophy, but now that my sons are in their mid to moving into their late 20s, I'm parenting from a different space. So I feel more like a consultant when it comes to parenting, where I'm listening, which I should have been listening more when they were younger, but now it's like I'm really having to listen and really having to like ask are you asking for some advice, that kind of thing.
You made a really good point. I want to challenge you. I want to ask you a question.
Go for it.
So I watch a lot of football and some basketball, right? And so what will happen? The player will get up to the free throw line and they will say, "Yo, my man, he has hit 50 free throws in a row the last 20 games, right? This dude has a streak going." And then what happens a lot of times, the guy will get up there or kicking the field goal, he made 30 straight. And so here's this moment, he get up there, going to shoot the free throw or going to kick the field goal. And most of the time what happened, bro, is that person will miss the shot or they miss the field goal. Now you got to think about it. This person has practiced this over and over and over and over again, with a lot of times they can make that thing in their sleep. And so I want to compare that to a statement you just made, and I want you to answer it, right? So here these dudes who are professionals or who are game changers, but when they get in that moment where they need to make the free throw or they need to make the field goal, they miss. My question is that moment too big for them? Because you got to think about it, is that they've been doing this for a long period of time. They know how to do it. They on tunnel vision, right? Just second nature. But they get in that moment and they miss. So my thing to you, Cole, you're talking about now how you parenting from a distance or differently. Why are you parenting differently, right? Because my thing was, the moment too big where you thought you had to do something different when you were younger parenting them versus how you parent now. because you're
Yeah.
still the same person.
Yeah.
So is that moment when they are younger, is that moment big or too big? So we think that we make these mistakes, right? But when we get older, we don't even trip anymore because we like, yo, we've been here. We know how this thing playing out. We know how it play out, right? So
Yeah.
now, even though your son or sons may be in a crisis, even though you emotionally invested, but your response is different because you know how to handle the pressure.
Yeah. And I think comes life comes wisdom. So, I'm 43. I started parenting at 16. So, I've had a number of years to learn some life lessons, and I think I'm also in a different season of my life. So, the things that they're now experiencing, I have a wealth of knowledge in because I've been there. So, it's like, even though my sons were a lot younger, I was still growing in my fatherhood role as a teenage parent. So there was still a host of insecurities and my trying to discover the world. I was still trying to figure out who I was and how I fit in this space. And now it's like I'm a little bit more wiser about who I am. I'm a little bit more confident about who I am. And I also have learned that I've already given my sons the tools. They don't need me to fix it. And so I used to think I needed to come in and fix. Let me get in and fix everything. Let me make everything okay. Where now I'm like, oh no, these are men. I'm sitting at a table with a man across the view from my table, and I'm looking at my son. I'm like, oh, he's my son, and I see him as 13, but oh no, this is a grown man. So I'm having to like see them as grown men and operating out of their experiences as adult men, while at the same time trying to like understand like I I,
But
I
let me ask you this, man, because I understand they grown men, right? But how do you know when to fix or not fix, right? Because
yeah
the child, a lot of times, bro,
yeah
they like, no, I got this. But when they get in a crisis, they want you to fix it,
yeah yeah
right?
well
When things is Gucci and is sweet, a lot of times, even your advice is not wanted. But when they get in a crisis, I just tell you, like my oldest baby, I don't know, she'd be a little bit different because she'll let us do everything if we could. But I'm just throwing it out there, right? But
yeah
from
yeah
a standpoint that she works,
yeah
make her own money, is in school, but here she has a problem with her tires. She's calling her dad to fix her tire. I'm like, yo, I need you. And I told her what to do because my thing is, I want you to be able to navigate this space by yourself. You can always call me, but I need you to go to the tire shop.
yeah
I need you to go over there and just hear what they say. You can call me, I'm a phone call away. But she didn't even, well, you know what? She did that. She did that.
yeah
And they told her this big, huge bill. And now she like, Dad, could you come get me some new tires? And so
yeah
my
yeah
thing is like, when do you say, I am going to fix it, or you allow them to grow through that circumstance?
yeah I'm doing a lot of letting them grow. And what's even brilliant about it is that they're not asking me to fix and to rescue, because I had an issue of coming in and doing it without your permission. I'm
Mm.
your father.
So
So
you say you're at a place
yeah
where you're learning
yeah.
because
So
they've
it's
been, well, okay.
yeah. Because I would just come in. I'm swooped in. Whoop, I'm Superman. I'm coming to fix it. You ain't even gotta ask me no questions. I'm coming to do the work. Right. But then I also understood that by doing that, I was also enabling them. And so I had to really learn like, oh no, you got to step back and you just got to listen. So when they come to you, you listen. So I've had some situations where they come. I'm chilling on the couch. I got I'm chilling. I got a little music playing, some John Coltrane, because I know what they coming to talk about. So I just set the mood for them so we can have this whole thing, and
So, so
they
you
can
said
walk
the
away.
atmosphere.
I set the atmosphere up. They don't even know John in here talking to them, but that to get into the space where they can just, kind of unpack, and I nod and I listen, and then I drop a little wisdom toward the end, and they grab some food and they go
But
forth.
what I so yours is listening, but what about those parents, bro? Like right now, like the world we live in is totally different.
Oh man.
And I've been sitting in some meetings, some spaces, man. Especially, I mean, seeing all these professionals. And the thing about it, man, is not only do I get opportunity like yourself, man, to work with, the fathers, like, in the trenches, but I get
Yeah.
to work with those providing service
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
these families. And a
Yeah.
lot of these providers, man, they are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They are absolutely overwhelmed. And one thing that what people didn't realize, and I was talking to my boy Tony, the director of Friend of the Court. He said, Shon, do you realize or know that some of the people that are providing guidance or resources to those families that walk through those doors have child support cases themselves in that same building?
Yeah.
Where they may not even be receiving money from their child's father, right? Or they are paying child support. So although they're working there, they still are in that same system, right?
Yeah.
And so my question to you, Cole, tonight is like, yo, how do you navigate this space, man, with your children when you are overwhelmed? Right? Like when you having a child, like, because this is the thing, man, you have people who are saying like, yo, I never want my children to go through what I went through. I want them
Yeah.
to have a better life. But the thing about it is that some of these kids, what they are going up against today, bro, they have it tough. And so the parents are feeling guilty because their children are not performing to the standard that they believe that they should be performing. So how does, or how do a parent navigate that space, bro?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a couple of things has to happen, right? I had to learn to do an assessment of my own self first. So I had to learn how to assess what was going on with me, and I learned
But
how
why
to make that
is that important?
assessment.
I'm talking. Why is that important? Because I'm asking you. Well,
Oh,
that
well,
this
well,
child is not performing to the
well,
standard.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, my assessment of myself in terms of what's going on with me is highly important, because with parents and children, that close knitted relationship has the ability to like morph over. So if I don't do an assessment of myself, I'm talking about my needs. I'm talking about where I'm at with my job. Am I satisfied in my work? If I'm satisfied, if I'm not satisfied in a lot of areas of my work, that's going to fold over into what happens to my children. And I mean, a perfect example for me is when I came in contact with a little bit of money, and I showed up at my house knowing that I, won some money that was outside of the budget that I really had. I came in super happy, super excited. I remember my sons jumping around just as joyous as I was. Prior to that, I came in, I was talking about what wait a minute, I got a call from the school. I'm angry about that. Oh, y'all didn't take the trash out? Oh, the dishes ain't done? Like I'm like riled up and ready to transform the whole house. But then I thought, when I got a little bit of money, I was completely operating out of this different space. So my assessment really started to take place. It's like, why was it, what was it about me having a little bit of money that made my feelings and emotions change? And what I recognize is that while my feelings and emotions changed, so did my family's emotions change. So I discovered, I was like, oh, I play a larger role in my family based on my self care. And we talk about self care, but I think it's just a buzzword. I think that people in work and industry, we do a really good job of talking about it, but I think to actually apply it and then actually experience it and actually do it and then see the culture of your family change through that is a completely different thing. And so I think my sons helped me understand that I needed to check that. And if you get blessed to have a strong-willed child, like, people don't think strong-willed children are a blessing but they really are, because they really absolutely challenge the core of your whole being as a parent, because they tell you all the things you do not like. Even they'll tell you about yourself, and they won't listen to anything you say, right? And so I've been blessed to have strong-willed sons who would say things to me like, "Oh, Dad, man, man, we turn up in church, but when we come home, you ain't said nothing about God." Well, I'm first of all, don't talk to me like that. Like I'm ready to go to war. But it was my sons, my strong willed sons in particular, who always called me out. Who always was just like, Dad, you know what? You so quick when we walk in the house to go in about all this other stuff, but then when we need something from you, I ain't got the time. Like, give me a few minutes. Give me a few minutes. And my son was like, Dad, have you ever thought about making sure if you need a few minutes, have you ever thought that we might need a few minutes too when we come into the house? Have you ever thought about that? I'm like, first of all, don't talk to me like that.
That's what I'm saying. But isn't that disrespectful? Isn't
Absolutely.
that isn't that
That's
disrespectful of this kid
absolutely.
saying I need some space? Give me some space.
Absolutely, from the standpoint of how I learn how to parent, children have a place. Like you have a place. One of the places is you don't tell me what to do, and you don't suggest to me what ought to happen, right? But I quickly learned that, oh, okay. When he said that, I had to reflect on that. So I think that part of this for parents and that feeling of being overwhelmed is that they also have to do a self-assessment and be open to the idea is that your children live with you or they have spent some time with you, that they know you better than what you think they do.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that's pretty profound. And you can't discount the relationship that you have with children when they've been with you for X amount of years, because they can tell when you walk into a space, they can tell the real you. They know who you are when you get in front of people and you shake their hands. They know when you don't know that person's name, when you just they walked into the room and came up. I mean, they know all this. They know you really well. And I think that we discredit sometimes the relationship that we actually have with children because we don't think that they know us, but they know us because they're so much a reflection of us.
You know,
So that was challenging for me. But yeah, anyway.
that's good that you say that, man. You know, it's really interesting. You trigger a thought, right? So I had a family this week, right? And you know, the thing about it, and I posted a video early in the week about my own biases, right? Working in this space, and it was just one client that I have now that was like, you know, I judge my man, and I'm like, yo, right? You know what I mean? So I'm like, I can only imagine what mama going through. But I'm serious. I'm just keeping it 100, man. Like, you know, I'm walking in, my eyebrows already raised up, and I'm like, Shon, you can't do that, man. You
You
trained.
can't do that.
But I'm like,
You
yo, I'm
can't do
human. I'm just being honest, bro. I'm just being honest. Like he knew how to push my buttons. But this was the thing, man, is that it wasn't until I sat down in the room with him where I discovered like all the stuff they was going through, why he was behaving the way he was. It doesn't justify, but it gave me a better understanding, right? To where I'm like, ooh, Shon, you jacked up. You almost missed this moment. And I just thank God that God gave me another opportunity to be able to fix it, right? That He gave me opportunity to fix it. But my point when I was just looking at this, when we talk about these parents, right? Like us as parents and what we do, how it impact our children when we are overwhelmed. This particular family, both of them are overwhelmed, right? But this is the difference. Both of them are so used to chaos that they don't know how to function in peace.
Powerful.
Say it again. They are
Powerful.
so used to functioning in chaos and confusion and just like contention that when they are presented with peace, they don't know how to handle it. And my point is that the way we have their situation set up where they never see each other, right? They never see each other. They never have to communicate with each other while they are using our services. Don't you know both of the parents was trying to find ways to complain about the other parent, sending emails of wanting to bring in the attorney. Oh, and I'm like, whoa. And I even told the one person that, like, yo, the way we do it, you don't ever have to see that person while you're using our services. That person was, I don't want to do it this way. I don't want to use your services if we got to do. But I'm like, whoa, I thought it was about your child. I thought you wanted to see your child. I thought we was getting you access to your child. So this person, bro, didn't want to follow the protocols because they didn't like the rules. But I'm like, these rules is put here So you and the other party don't ever have to see each other, argue, none of that. But this person was doing everything in their power, bro, to bring some type of chaos and confusion into the circumstance. And I realized at that moment, like, yo, some people just like chaos. And I ain't gonna say some people just like it. There are some people that do like chaos, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I just think this party, that they are not used to peace.
Yeah.
They're not used to peace at all. And so this child is caught in the middle. Like when I'm picking the child up, the child is really young. But the child can hear everything, and they are disregarding, not even considering that the child is being handed over to me. This party is saying something, then I'm giving to the other one, then they saying something. So I have to remind them of like, hey, we don't do this type of talk here, right? Because we are trying to eliminate the child from hearing and experiencing some of these traumatic situations, but y'all trying to bring it when you don't even have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you say every time you pick up your child from her, y'all beef. Guess what? You didn't even see her. I just brought your child into you. Your child was happy to see you, but you still want to talk about her.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know, I think we talk about this all the time, this idea of behavior. And so, when we pull back the layers of behavior, it's deeply rooted into a whole bunch of other things that people are struggling with. So I've also come to learn too, Shon, in my work, that we don't really understand the role of children. Like
Yeah,
we don't really understand the impact that we make very early on in their lives. We don't understand it, and it's not something that is taught often. You don't see it at your home. No one's talking about ages and stages, child development, the brain development of children. So I think sometimes too and it's really hard to see yourself
oh,
until somebody points
absolutely,
yourself out to you.
absolutely.
So I mean, but I agree with you. Chaos is contagious, though, too. I mean, we live in a world where
Yeah,
it's super chaotic. So to be in peace, you know, to be honest, to be in peace is you really have to be intentional with like creating peace.
absolutely.
Like that's a
Because I'm just going back to what you're saying, Cole, about what our topic tonight is. Like what do you do when you overwhelm? My point about that particular group
yeah,
is that they are bringing chaos,
yeah, yeah,
right? When they
because that's their
overwhelm
sense
the
of
situation,
peace.
but they are adding to it when it's not necessary. So us as parents, my point of bringing it up is like,
Yeah,
yo, are you inviting chaos? Are you inviting that spirit of being overwhelmed? Are you creating a culture and an environment to make your circumstance worse than what it is?
yeah. Yeah. And that's where that self-assessment comes in, that checking of yourself, which I think is very difficult for parents to do because parents don't have to check themselves. That's you don't you don't have to your measurement is with your children. So
So,
some
so,
people
so give
check
me
it.
give me an example of what checking myself look like. So, how do I self-assess and check myself? What does that
Yeah.
look?
So I think one way of self checking yourself is really taking a gauge and a temperature of like what you're feeling at that moment. Like I think we tend to operate out of feelings really fast. If I'm overwhelmed by a situation, people have knee jerk reactions. So I think one thing to do is just like check where you are, check how you're feeling. I had to check myself. This idea that we talk when we work with folks when they're entering into the workspace, especially when they're working with families and children, the concept of making sure that you don't bring the outside world into your space, right? You don't bring your biases in. That sounds easy, but it's actually very difficult to do. I think that parents have to be able to check the temperature of themselves. How are they feeling right now at this moment? How did they feel? When the child acted a certain way in that moment, like really taking that first step of checking that, and then started going back and seeing why they might feel that certain way. That takes time to be able to do. I've learned too the idea of like part of self assessment is just being in the moment, being mindful, and just being present in the moment, which can be also very difficult. When I get home and I have to make sure that the food is prepared, I have to make sure that someone just ran up to me and said, "Hey, I need you to sign this. I need you to do this. This needs to get done. This needs to get done." So it instantly you can move into being overwhelmed. But I also think in that self assessment, one of the things you can do is tell people, I need a moment. Like sometimes parents just go without even telling people, "Hey, I really need to take 15 minutes and I'm going to take 15 minutes." And I had to learn with my sons, it's like, oh, you just don't tell them you're going to take 15 minutes. You create 15 minutes or 20 minutes in the house. Like, all right, y'all, we all are taking a 15-minute break. Like, we're not doing, when you come home, you got a whole half an hour, a whole 45 minutes just to kind of relax from the whole day of being at school. And so what I learned how to do is do that same thing. I was asking for that, but I wasn't giving them that option to be able to have that themselves. So I think you end up modeling what you want to see. And I think that's part of that idea of taking that self-assessment. We want our kids to self-assess. How are you feeling today? Can you identify that feeling? Well, I think in order for them to have a self-assessment of identifying the feelings and what they're feeling at that moment, they also have to have that model and experience that within their parents and seeing their parents actually use the verbiage and the language. Today I was feeling overwhelmed. You know, these are some of the things that I did. Like, I didn't realize that even as simple as setting a goal, like, I didn't know. I would tell my sons, you got to set these goals, but I didn't have anything tangible for them to see the goals that I was reaching for, and the goals that I was trying to accomplish. And then when I reached those goals, they also didn't see me celebrate those goals. So it's like I had to learn, like, oh, okay, what I'm asking, what I'm trying to do for me, and I'm telling them to do, I actually have to model it in a tangible way so they actually see dad checking off the whiteboard of a goal. He's talking about the goal. He's talking about taking care of himself. I see him actually doing it. So he's not telling me what to do. I'm seeing him do it. And I know that it works because I love him and I believe in him. And I know that if it's working for dad, it could work for me. And so I think that part of this is really parents have to really take care of themselves. Gotta take care of themselves, man. We get told all there's so many messages. One of the messages that parents get often is, once you have a child, it's not about you, it's about the kids. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's not
whoa,
that's not
it's all about you.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's a saying.
You made we used about feelings, man, and I wrote it down. That's what I was doing. I pulled my little
Yeah.
mark out because I didn't want to lose my thought. But we going through a rough time right now with Michigan State. But you know, I love my coach, and he talks about feelings, right?
Yep.
He said he talks about how standard is standard over feelings.
Mm.
And he said, because if the standard is the standard, then your feelings can't dictate your next move.
Yeah.
It's when you allow your feelings, like right now, they are not doing as well. But if
Yeah.
they get caught up in their feelings, they can start making bad decisions, start complaining, the whole nine. But if we focus on what is the standard, what can we control? What do we need to do at this moment, right? Because if I focus on my feelings are going to tell me I don't feel like doing this. Why stay motivated? Why, you know, the whole nine. And so I coach my son's football team, and we are extremely talented. One of the most talented teams in the league. But bro, we started out 0-3.
Mm.
Not because of talent, but because of poor execution in every part, in every phase. So I had to look at it as like a part of me started losing motivation. Like, man, I can't make it to the playoffs now. And I had to realize, like, bro, that's your feelings telling you. Your feelings is telling you there's no need to get to practice on time. There's no need to do this. There's no need to come in with a rah-rah speech. He's like, that's your feelings. And it's like the standard, Shon, remains the standard. Is that you are developing these young kids, you're teaching them how to be resilient, you're teaching them how to be winners.
Okay.
Because they don't know how to win yet. You're teaching them how to win. And so over the past 2 weeks, that's what I've been focusing on, right? Is what does it look like to win? What are the things that we must do or we can do to get better that is connected to success? And so we won our first game last week, right? And so I
Yeah.
called out to them all the things that we did right. But guess what? We come back Monday. You know what we look like? The team that we were 2 weeks prior. And so I stopped practice immediately and brought everybody together and pointed out to them the difference between the previous week's practice and the week's practice prior to that one, pointing out the differences. And one brought this type of result and the other brought that type of result.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, which result did you like better? This one. Well, if we want this result, success says that we must continue to be consistent in the areas that's going to cause us to be productive. Right? So
Yeah.
what you're talking about here is just making me think about our parenting. Even when I give the example of the field goal kicker and the basketball player, like, we need to focus on the execution, the big picture, and not how we feel, because our feelings will lie to us.
Yeah, but in conjunction to that, I also think that part of the challenge is that when we talk about feelings, we tend to not address the fact that that feeling is a real emotion, and we don't have the true language of like identifying like, okay, this is what that is.
Yeah.
But this is what I have to work myself through.
Absolutely.
But so I agree. I think that feelings is just that gauge that sort of says, okay, so what's going on? Like
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that part of it. But the biggest part is when I recognize these feelings, I need to address them. I can't pitch a tent there.
If I can though, if I can too, John, if I can recognize it, because that's the other part of what we're seeing with people and feelings. They don't even know how to identify what the feeling is. It's like, okay, wait, I think it's that, but actually it's really this, but I don't know. I don't have the words to like express it, but I do it this way. And so it's like sometimes it really requires the coach, as you just described, to be able to identify like, okay, this is what that is.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you're going to move through it, and this is how you're going to get to that next level. But it's so difficult, I think, because there is so much going on. There's so many feelings you're supposed to operate out or believe or know or all the other stuff. So I agree.
Yep.
But this is the hard stuff.
Yep, it is the hard stuff, bro. It is the hard stuff. But that's why we do what we do, and it's necessary, man. It's necessary. So
because I'm looking at the back of your wall, it says hustle and execution.
Yo,
and
hustle,
underneath it
is right here. It say hustle right here.
Yes.
In the middle it says grind.
Yes.
And then over here, let me move out the way. Right here it says execution.
Yes, man. And that's hard.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people play with these words, but I'm like, it's hard to actually execute and push through those feelings when you, like you just described, I'm not getting up today. I don't feel like it.
Yep.
You know, like, no, you have to get up today. You have to do that. You got to push yourself through that.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah. But I'm looking at those three back there. I'm like, man, that's hard to do.
Absolutely, man. And that's why it's important to have a group of accountability brothers, man. I haven't posted. One day I may post my transformation of exercising, and my wife gave me permission, but I'm like,
got the permission?
But did you really give me permission? You know what I mean? Because it's me shirtless, right? But did you really give me permission? You know what I mean? I'm just excited of my transformation, you know what I mean, of what I was like prior. And I just want to show, you know, what happened, that I now got muscles again, you know what I mean? But
we're gonna have to talk about that, bro, because we'll have to talk about what my experience was, you know, with wearing the male Under Armour that fit over your tummy.
Yes.
Yeah. Walking around with that with your suit on. Yeah, man.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, that's a whole nother thing. We'll have to
Okay,
cover
that's a
that.
whole. Okay. Wait, that might be a legit or not legit. And we have to put up a picture. Is that legit or not legit to use the Under Armour shirt as a waist trainer? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I ain't saying that's what you did. I'm just saying that might be a topic or legit or not legit. So I do have a
Yeah.
legit or not legit. Yesterday I had the opportunity to play soccer with my son and his team, and with parents
Okay.
against kids. And yeah, I went out there. First of all, I did score. You know what I mean? I had to show my son that his daddy still has it. Your daddy was an athlete. You know what I mean? So I was able to score. And my wife texted me. She's like, they need you. You need to come in here. Because, the score, we was up pretty big when I left.
Right.
I had to go out and take a call. She's like, the kids is coming back. She was like, they need you. So I ran in there like I'm a superhero.
Right.
So I ran in there. Not even 30 seconds, your boy score. Boom, tie the game up. You know what I mean? They said he really was taking the lead, but I tied the score up. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But immediately after that, I'm all hype. I'm yelling like, yeah! Ball comes, kid coming. Ball come, kid coming. I'm going. Yeah! Yep. I took an 11-year-old out. Game stops. This 11-year-old is crying. I'm looking around. What am I gonna do? Everybody stops. The dude's daddy standing behind me. Oh, I took his kid out. I'm like, you all right? All of a sudden, he's all right. Tell him to get up. So that relieved me of some pressure. But my question is it legit or not legit for me to take out an 11-year-old in a game of soccer? I didn't mean to, but my wife said I was doing too much. So is it legit or not legit? Let me know, y'all. Was it legit or not legit? Listen, they was talking junk though, Cole, and I couldn't let them talk. I was like an old school Chevy, and he was like a new school Century.
Yeah.
Folded.
And you took him out.
So was it legit or not legit?
No, that ain't legit. Chill. You can't be taking out the 11-year-olds on the field.
But I didn't do it on purpose.
That's what they all say. You was living a dream.
Oh my gosh.
You was living the dream. You was ready. Yes,
actually,
I'm back.
Hey, actually, and my back hurt right now, bro.
I bet it do.
My back hurt right now, bro. For real. I got this big cushion behind me right now. Yeah. Hi, Cole.
You was doing the most, as your wife said. You was extra out there. But he survived.
I was a little extra, but I scored though. I scored.
Y'all have a great night.
All right.
All right,
Till
Shon.
next time.